Dude, I want you to be as smart as I am.
Motherfucker, give me a...
Dude, I want you to be as smart as I am.
Motherfucker, give me a...
Dude, I want you to be as smart as I am.
Motherfucker, give me a...
Dude, I want you to be as smart as I am.
Motherfucker, give me a specific...
Dude, I want you to be as smart as I am.
Motherfucker...
Come on out, you rapist!
Dude, I want you to be as smart as I am.
Today's topic is something that has been getting a lot of buzz lately, and that is Black fatigue. I will say, doing the research on this video has been correct.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Can y'all hear this video? Let me know if you can.
Crazy. I've been exposed to some very interesting stuff. I've had some conversations with people about it IRL, and it's been quite a doozy. Okay, so I wanted to talk about what is Black fatigue, what is the growing sentiment of Black fatigue, who's talking about it, and then I was going to give some of my own opinions, my own personal opinions about it. I'm going to try to keep this video as linear as possible. Hopefully I don't go off on the rails. I'm also doing keto, bitch, and I can barely think straight. Oh my God. Whew. But I'm gonna tell you, girl, that's working. She looked good, okay? She's looking all right, okay? Anyway, Black fatigue. What is it? There are two definitions of Black fatigue. I'll give you the original and I'll give you what it has currently become. Am I not centered? There we go. So I'm just going to read to you what Google says about the original term because I'm not smart enough to just remember it off the top of my head. But the term Black fatigue was coined by Mary Frances Winters, a renowned diversity, equity, and inclusion expert and founder of the Winters Group. She introduced the term in her 2020 book, Black Fatigue: How Racism Erodes the Mind, Body, and Spirit. Black fatigue is defined as the physical and psychological toll of enduring racism, including both overt and subtle forms, and recognizes the exhaustion that builds over time from ongoing injustices and systemic exclusion, not just from individual traumatic events. The term was coined to highlight the impact of racism on Black people. From what I've heard, the phrase was co-opted specifically by white people to mean being tired of Black people's bullshit, is apparently what it means now. I have been watching quite a few videos on it, just seeing everybody's opinions, and I will say this. I am so disappointed with every single video I've seen, both defending Black fatigue and attacking Black fatigue. Nobody is having this conversation in a productive way. So that's what I'm hoping to do in this video. So something that I noticed when I first started watching videos on this topic there are a few different people talking about it. One is white people, one is Black people that agree with the white people, and one is Black people that disagree with the white people. I guess something that I wanted to say off the bat is I wanted to say my thoughts about the inclusion of white people in this conversation. First off, I want to say that even though we all have our little separate micro cultures and stuff, and each individual person might be closer or not to other cultures, right? I have a lot of white friends. I have a lot of friends of other ethnicities in general. I know a lot of people don't live like that. A lot of people live in their own bubbles. A lot of Black people live in Black neighborhoods. A lot of white people live around other white people. I live in Atlanta. It's incredibly diverse, but that's just not how most of the country is. So I think because we all live in a society together, which means that we're going to be coming into contact with one another. The things that we do impact one another. I think that you have to include white people in the conversation, right? But I will say this. As a Black person, it is really weird to hear white people talk about Black fatigue because they only know their half of the story. It's weird hearing them as a Black person when they're just spouting statistics like, oh, this many Black people in jail, this many Black people commit crime, this many Black people are unwed teenage mothers and stuff like that. But you know what they don't have? Real life, personal, up in their face lived experience. And that is the problem that I have, because they're speaking on the effects without knowing the cause. Also, they're definitely talking about people that are stereotypically referred to as ghetto or ratchet, the stereotypical type of Black people, right? But they're also referring to another type of Black people, and that is the woke Black people who defend the stereotypical Black behavior. They're both Black people and white people and everybody in between who are frustrated with the fact that it seems like the woke Black people don't believe in accountability for these stereotypical Black actions that most people don't like. My issue with having people who are outside of the Black community, especially white people, talk about Black fatigue is they're talking about the parts that affect them. I had this conversation with my white homie. Is he racist? I want to say yes and no, but if I were to say that my white homie is racist, then I have to say every fucking person in the world is racist. They just say it out loud. So that's why I want to say no. I know some people who, not me adjusting the boobies and still recording. I know some people who are liberal, who voted for Kamala, who have slipped up and said some problematic things, okay? So I think everybody on this fucking planet is racist, okay? Every single person. I think that the reality is that white people are in positions of power a lot more often. They have been the foundation for a lot of the cultural norms that our country follows because they're the majority. I do not think white people should be a part of the Black fatigue conversation if all they're going to do is complain about Black people being ghetto and Black people being ratchet, okay? That's not productive. People are not asking themselves, why does ratchet behavior exist? Some of the worst takes I've seen were centered around bioessentialism, which is a form of biological determinism, and it is the belief that human traits and behaviors are primarily determined by biological factors such as genes or chromosomes, rather than social, cultural, or environmental influences. It suggests that these biological essences are fixed and unchanging. Some of the worst takes I've seen have centered around, that's just how Black people are. There's something in their DNA, and that's why they don't have any brain cells. Bitch, I was listening to the Hodge twins. First of all, these two dumb motherfuckers, I don't like them, okay? But I was watching a video where they were talking about the Black girl who was the track runner, and she ran a race and she won, and part of her celebrating is she showboated and took out a freaking, it's not a fire hydrant, it's the squirty thingy that shoots out the foam. Fire extinguisher. She took out a fire extinguisher and did a little spray on her feet to show that her feet were on fire because she won. And she lost her trophy. They kicked her out of the winning. She couldn't win anymore. And I think she got banned from something else for doing that. And she did it because another track runner who ran in the Olympics but I was watching a video where they were talking about the Black girl who was a track runner, and she ran a race and she won, and part of her celebrating is she showboated and took out a freaking, it's not a fire hydrant, it's the squirty thingy that shoots out the foam. Fire extinguisher. She took out a fire extinguisher and did a little spray on her feet to show that her feet were on fire because she won. And she lost her trophy. They kicked her out of the winning. She couldn't win anymore. And I think she got banned from something else for doing that. And she did it because another track runner who ran in the Olympics did it. And he did a much bigger deal. He made a really big show out of it. And the Hodge twins said,
that never crossed my mind to do something stupid and showboat in front of everybody.
You know why?
I guess. You know why? Why? Because we 46.
Sorry about this, folks. I'm trying to with a technical issue here.
They were funny. They
See.
have
Let's see if this
on
helps.
conservative twins. I guess they're conservative now. They have 2.9 million subscribers, bitch. That's almost 3 million subscribers. You know why? Because they're saying all the shit that people already think in the first place. How many people watch this video that I'm watching that I'm referencing? 300,000 people about, and it came out 2 days ago and 300,000 people have already seen it, bitch. Yo, that's the problem that I have with this entire conversation, is because the Hodge twins are reacting to this video. They're saying ignorant shit like that. I brought up biological essentialism just because of what the Hodge twins said. People think that there's just something in Black people DNA that makes them inherently ignorant and ratchet. Obviously, as a Black person, I hear that and I'm like, am I inherently ignorant and ratchet? Is that how I feel inside? I don't know. I personally think that it's culture. We can't even have a productive conversation because the most prominent voices about this are saying what everybody already thinks. People of all races and ethnicities are like, yes, finally somebody is acknowledging how fucking annoying Black people are. And that's all they're gonna listen to. I watched Shameless Berg. He's white. The video, it's called Black Fatigue, Forever 12.
The races are different. We all know this. They all have different physical characteristics, hormone productions, etc., which affects the brain. This has to affect mental development, cognitive abilities, and emotional capabilities. No shit. And we can all accept these basic realities about literally anything else in the world. Dogs, cats, horses, we can acknowledge all of these things. But all of a sudden, when we get over to humans, we just can't even go there.
That video was a doozy. I think the first video I watched on Black Fatigue was by Amir Odom. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like him, but really, he's just like every other Black conservative. I'm gonna tell you how I feel about conservatives, okay? I am a progressive. My experience with conservatives is that they do a lot of coming to conclusions based off of common sense, right? A lot of conservative people are saying, I have Black fatigue because Black people are demonstrably ratchet. And a lot of them are being very fair. They're saying, I know not all Black people are like this, but for the Black people that are like this, I'm tired of that shit. I'm talking about Black conservatives are saying that, white conservatives are saying that, everybody in between who's conservative is saying that. But the problem with this common sense, it's a very shallow type of, I don't know why I'm doing this, like I'm demonstrating like, yes, it's the epidermis. It's on surface level. I bought a new lotion and it was like, yes, it gets down into the dermis. I don't know. I think my head's just thinking that way. But I think that a lot of conservatives do this type of thinking, right? I think that's why so many of them will say things like, oh, it's just common sense, or it's what's natural, right? Or if you look around, people acting like this, right? And I don't think that is an intelligent conversation. I'm sorry, I don't. And the more intelligent conservatives will do, like I said before, they'll pop out those statistics. And I'm like, you're not getting to the root cause, baby. You're missing it. And on the other hand, the problem that Black liberals is they will
All right, let's try this again.
problem with this common sense. It's a very shallow type of, I don't know why I'm doing this, like I'm demonstrating like, yes, it's the epidermis. It's on surface level. I bought a new lotion and it was like, yes, it gets down into the dermis. I don't know. I think my head's just thinking that way. But I think that a lot of conservatives do this type of thinking, right? I think that's why so many of them will say things like, oh, it's just common sense, or it's what's natural, right? Or if you look around, people acting like this, right? And I don't think that is an intelligent conversation. I'm sorry, I don't. And the more intelligent conservatives will do, like I said before, they'll pop out those statistics. And I'm like, you're not getting to the root cause, baby. You're missing it. And on the other hand, the problem that I have with Black liberals is they will excuse any amount of demonstrably ratchet behavior. And it sounds like they're always making excuses. It sounds like they're always coming off as the victim. And it sounds like they're not calling for Black people to have accountability. And I think that's what the more conservative people want. Because the reality is, most people in the world are conservative. Most people in the world are tribal. Most people in the world are traditional. I mean, that makes sense. That's how we've evolved as human beings. You follow the tribe. You want people to fit in. You want people to be the same. There's a girl that I'm watching named Chrissy. I watched her video. It's called The New Black Fatigue and How to Navigate It, Social Strategy. I haven't gotten all the way through it, but I'm about 10 minutes in that video. And she's making some points that I have an issue with when it comes from the woke liberal side of Black fatigue. She acknowledges the negativity that is the ratchet ghetto behavior.
I'm not white, and even I get tired of unnecessary social justice warring coming from the left. I also had my issues with Black Lives Matter and the way they conducted themselves. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't also tired of some of the ratchet behavior coming from Black people.
But then she turns around and says that she thinks that the real issue that white people are saying that they have Black fatigue is because they're used to having all the power and now they're...
Well, let me just stop this right briefly. They're all wrong. In a way, she is doing what she's criticizing. Not all liberals are woke, for starters. I don't think she quite understands the politics of this. I think, and I actually will show a little bit of Roz's show. People, and I actually think Black Americans, the legacy Black Americans, need to get out of this. We are a monolithic community. We are not that. And every year since 1964, is my theory, we've gotten less and less monolithic. Okay. The people that are, quote, tired of Black behavior, as long as they understand that this tired Black or this ratchet, quote, ratchet Black behavior is no reflection on any one individual other than the individual who's acting ratchet, I don't have a problem with that criticism. But as soon as you start making generalizations from individual behavior, even if it fits a stereotype, you're going to lose me, because it's simply silly. And to DiCaprio's point, I think it's a kind of a feedback loop with white shades like Be Brave and the anti-Black blacks or Black conservatives, whatever you want to call them. It's a feedback loop. Anti-Blacks will make these critiques of the Blacks, and those with the sort of receiving antenna who are prone to think Blacks are, have some sort of genetic or chronic pathology, they're going to hear that and go, well, even the Blacks are saying it. John Galt is a holy man. Ak Nation is a holy man. CT is a holy man. Well, they're holy men because they are of the same religion, anti-Black. That is problematic. And you know what? If you have nothing good to say about Black people on, every now and again, you're part of the problem. You're ratchet. So it may piss some people off, but I don't really give a fuck. It is what it is.
Now they're losing it and having to share it with Black people.
I feel like they do have an issue with the ratchet behavior and all that. But I also feel like they're using that as a smokescreen to hide their real issue, which is that they just feel like they lost some privilege. That's what it was.
I don't understand how she could be like, yes, there are ratchet,
I
annoying
disagree
Black
with
people
that
in the world. And yes, they get on my nerves as a Black person, but that's not what white people are talking about. They're just mad because we're catching up and they want to keep all the girl. It really feels like she's trying to have her cake and eat it too, which is the biggest issue that I have with liberal Black people. These are the type of Black people, maybe they didn't grow up in necessarily the hood, but they grew up maybe in a Black area. They probably went to college. They could have gone to an HBCU, and now they're a Black social justice warrior online. I don't know if that's what they're still called. A wokey? Do we still say woke? Oh my God, it's been forever since that term came out, almost like 10 years now. But the type of Black person that was going to BLM protests. Also, I did go to BLM protests. And I definitely am team you shouldn't kill somebody for doing a nonviolent offense. My white homie, we were talking about it the other day, and he was saying like, oh, George Floyd was like a scumbag and he did drugs. I'm like, that does not mean he deserved to die. That's why we have to have these conversations. And me and him were having a civil conversation. I was talking regular, he was talking regular. He would say something and I would give him more context on the situation. That's how the conversations really should be. I feel like a lot of liberal woke people don't want to even entertain conversations like that, or they get really angry in those conversations. And as a person who is a progressive, I understand, right? The whole point about conservatism is it's a very traditional, tribal, very old type of mindset, right? Most humans have that type of mindset.
Well, she is warm, but I think she really doesn't understand what conservatism is. I actually don't think she understands what liberal is with a capital L. I don't think she knows what a progressive is. She's getting close, but she's not quite there. Liberal does not necessarily equal woke. As a matter of fact, it almost, if you go back and you look at the roots of capital L liberalism, it's pretty conservative, especially when it comes to, race issues. She's got some homework to do, but she's warm.
Being a liberal person is literally being aware and trying to actively fight against those very old traditional tribal urges that we all innately have. Now that's the real
tribal urge
right?
she's talking about
conservatism we feel. I'll tell you right.
Okay, again, the tribal urges, I don't know so much about tribe as much as religion. That's actually what the capital L liberal was kind of, fighting. Capital L liberals want to use reason rather than religion to discover, capital T in quotes truth. She's getting this all wrong. She is literally she needs to do some homework. She's kind of mangling a good point. She's on the right track, but it's going to lead her to all kinds of just weird conclusions about what liberal is. Liberals, capital L liberals, are not in a fight with conservatives.
Right now, I want everybody to have their rights. I try to respect every person as well as I can. I was not born like this. I didn't come out the womb like this. I had to learn to be this way because I had a goal. And my goal was I want to be the best person I possibly can be. That was my only goal. And I try every day to fulfill that goal. But anyway, aside from that, I don't like Black fatigue. I get it. I get that it's a quick colloquial term, but I think the reality is I think that what they mostly are problematic elements of Black culture. And I feel like that's what you should call it. I feel like that's the appropriate way to label it, or just saying problematic Black culture. To me, it's like toxic masculinity, right? That's not saying that every masculine thing is toxic, but just acknowledging that there is a form of masculinity that can be toxic. Just like I think that there is a form of Black culture that can be problematic. You get the vibe when you're listening to a woke liberal person that they can excuse anything in Black culture while simultaneously turning around and saying that they don't like it either, which is very interesting. I think there's a difference between explaining certain elements of Black culture and excusing certain elements of Black culture. I think that liberals like to excuse. I think that conservatives like to complain. And I am somewhere in the middle where I want to explain the phenomenon of what's going on, right? A lot of Black culture is because Black people tend to start their families very early. My mother had me when she was 20 years old. My grandmother had my mom when she was 17. Those are children, right? Those are people that are not even old enough to drink. My grandmother wasn't even old enough to vote, right? So what do you think a 17-year-old is going to do raising a child, raising a family? These are not the same people as the average middle class person in general raising a family. I have a homie right now. She's 20 years old and she just got engaged. She is white. She's in college. Her daddy and her mom are paying for everything. They're paying for her garbage. They're paying for her apartment. She just got a 2-bedroom apartment that her parents are paying for. She's got a sister who's got that same shit. They paying for her too. Okay, that is not the same. If she were to get pregnant tomorrow, she would be fully supported. My 17-year-old grandmother did not have that. All right. You know probably why.
Okay, well, there's a problem with this point she's making. So it's okay to get pregnant at 17 as long as mommy and daddy are paying for it. She's got some work to do. Wow.
Because her mother had her when she was 19. These are children having children, right? So as a person who is living it, I can speak on it, right? When I hear a white person talk about black people like they think they know the problem, and I'm like, you don't know shit. It's like the difference between you like critiquing your brother and some.
Honestly, this is she's fairly young. I think she's not that. I don't think she's even 25 yet. I've watched her videos before and I forget exactly how old she is, but I think she's 25 or younger. She is literally just kind of, again, my father used to say a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. She has a little knowledge. And I think she's speaking on some weighty matters that she doesn't fully understand. Um, I don't know. Money doesn't solve problems. It can kind of soothe the symptoms, but it doesn't actually solve problems unless it's a, lack of funding. The point she's making about getting pregnant at 17, if mommy and daddy are paying for everything, that solves, the effects maybe, but it does not solve the problem. I think the more she talks, and this is going to wind up being a 36-minute video, it seems to me the more she talks, the more off base she gets. I don't know if you've ever done land navigation. Basically, it's an army thing where, you have a map and a compass and a straight edge, and you're supposed to get from A to B cross country. And sometimes you have to offset or, because you often can't go in a straight line. And if you start off, if that first point is just a little bit off, the farther you go, the more off course you get. And it seems like she started from a good place, but she went a little off course. And the farther she goes, the more off base she gets. She's really, I thought she was fairly smart. Getting the impression that she's got a little work to do.
Some stranger critiquing your brother. I can say that because I know him and I've known him my whole life. You don't know him, okay? Not only do I know him, but I love him and I'm actively engaged in his life, while you just want to call him a dumbass and tell him that he was born stupid. The fuck is that to say to somebody, that black people are just born stupid? In regards to like the wokeness, I do think that the woke liberal type of black people are doing a terrible job at marketing what it is they're trying to do. A lot of people in general, but especially liberals, get so fucking emotional to the point where you can't even have a conversation with them. Because I have.
You know what? I would love for her to name one woke black liberal. Maybe Van Jones, or someone like that.
Friends from all walks of life. I have conservative friends. I have liberal friends. I have friends that fall in between. I have friends that have gone to college and I have friends that haven't. I get to hear a lot of different opinions. And I knew that Trump was going to win the 2024 election. And I was telling one of my liberal friends this, and she was just like, look, I can't talk about this because.
What does Trump have to do with black fatigue? I need her to connect those dots.
It's making me upset. And I'm like, how are we supposed to have this conversation if you're just going to shut down the conversation because you can't emotionally handle it? Meanwhile, my conservative Republican, outwardly Trump supporting homie, I've had many conversations with him about the whole situation. We've talked about all of it, and it's an actual conversation. You know why? Because he never said, oh my God, I can't listen to this. I understand that it comes from a place of liberals being disgusted with how conservatives think. I get it. I understand the idea to view conservatives like they're evil because they want to keep people from having rights. Conservatives have historically been on the wrong side.
Wait, conservatives want to keep people from having rights? What the fuck is she talking about? Ugh.
History. I was talking about that with my Republican homie, and he was like, oh, what do you mean conservatives have been on the wrong side of history? I was like, liberals are the ones who cared about gay rights, who freed the slaves, who care about rights for women, and he didn't have anything to say.
She is getting the history wrong. There were plenty conservatives who were against slavery.
I'm not saying that's...
There were plenty liberals who had slaves. Look at somebody like, I don't know that you would exactly call Thomas Jefferson a capital L liberal. Plenty of capital L liberals had slaves. Oh.
That's a rule, but I'm just saying it's a pattern, right? This is my explanation for how wokeness infiltrated the blackness and how that is leading to the black fatigue that people are experiencing. Let me see if I have. Damn it, there's so much stuff on here. Oh, I gotta wipe it off. First off, I do want to just say that I think a lot of the ratchet ghetto behavior that people are talking about when they're talking about black fatigue is caused by poverty. Most people who exhibit that.
Does she know, for instance, that Trump is not a conservative? Does she know that a lot of ratchet people support Trump? She is just mangling this stuff.
That type of behavior, they're from the hood or they're from the ghetto. They're from lower income areas. And I'm going to tell you right now, the rules are different. These black people live in black spaces and they live in black areas and they are around other black people. To them, that is normal. But when they infiltrate a public space into greater society, they're still talking loud and honestly having some very inconsiderate.
Okay, what's wrong with talking loud? I think there are a lot of people, white people, who talk loud. Oh, this poor girl.
Very antisocial behaviors. They don't clock that their behaviors are undesired because it's normal where they came from.
Maybe they just don't give a fuck. Have you considered that, ma'am?
I say that as a black person who's done that before. It's not because I was inconsiderate. It's not because I didn't care about my fellow man. I did it because that was normal in my family. But there's also a lot of other traits that I picked up that weren't from black people that I also did because I thought they were normal. There are traits that I picked up that I saw on TV that I used to do because I thought, oh, people on TV.
Okay, well, that would be your main problem. If you are learning your behavior from TV only, TV might be an influence, but that's what parents are for, or someone who is like an older advisor to tell you don't do that shit. Ugh. She should be embarrassed to say she's picked up behaviors from TV.
TV do this. It's not bioessentialism. I swear, it's what you're exposed to. It's what's normal to you and the people around you. I feel like that's so obvious, but everybody wants to just be a dumbass about this topic. topic and just say it like Black people are just born stupid. And I'm just like, that's clearly not the case. There are plenty of intelligent Black people. And I'm going to tell
sorry
you how
about
you know
that.
you're complaining about the culture.
I was
Other Black
complaining
people are
about her
complaining
being
it
off
too.
course.
You know what else? Africans from Africa come over here and they complain about it too. Anyway, I'm going to try to explain how the woke people tried to fix the world and how it didn't work. And what they actually ended up doing was contributing to Black fatigue. My goal in doing this is hopefully, if I can explain it, then maybe it'll help you understand it and be able to have more productive conversations about this topic. Because where we are right now is fucked. I'm being completely honest. This whole conversation is fucked. I love that I have so many crackers left. I'm doing keto right now, and I had to count out specifically.
Who gives a
19
fuck
keto
about
crackers,
keto?
and I can have
Why
cheese with it,
is
'cause cheese
this?
keto? It's
Get
great.
to the point,
Anyway,
man.
so first I'm going to lay out the baseline for how things happen, and then I'll show you. So the baseline is this.
Let us take our time.
At all the
Can
different
you-
races,
can
the
you hold
ethnicities,
on a
all the
second?
different cultures. European culture, white people, figured it out first, right? It's like if everybody had to put together a jigsaw puzzle, whatever that thing was that propelled them to be able to lord over everyone else, they got to it first. And that does
Okay,
Real
here
first.
is where this is gonna go wrong. If she does not know what propelled quote white people to think they were in charge, that's a problem. If you want to talk about it, give us a little detail. They were there first. Well, maybe they were, but you need to. This is just, it's slipshod.
Stanley, that's a
Um,
woman, Stanley. That's a
Okay,
woman.
you know what? Don't give me
A
that
woman is not
bullshit,
supposed to know these
dude.
things.
Hey, let me warn you right now, and you might want to go back to the chat. I just listened to 3 hours of stupid men talking nonsense,
Oh,
and I
Lord,
am
look
not.
at
I am not
Stanley.
gonna go. I'm not gonna do it. I'll
Come
I'll
on,
get to
man.
I'll get to Roz's show. And the reason I didn't go up on that chat, because that little art guy, I would have fucking had him in tears.
Oh, come
I,
on. See, that's what I'm
I
talking
was
about,
fucking,
Stanley.
I was fucking with him from the chat, and he wanted to cry about it.
Stanley, I want you to
Yes.
go on Amazing Lucas one day while he
On
doing
who?
his live stream. That'd be
Who?
cool, man. I'm telling you, man.
Wait,
My
on
bad, I'm
who?
just saying, bro. That's just a theory.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
have.
disagree with you 90% of the time, Stanley, but you a voice we need out here in these
Okay,
streets,
well,
dog.
hold on. Whose show are you talking about?
Amazing Lucas. One day you need to
Oh,
call it in.
I watched him. I did a video of his last night.
Oh, you did? Damn. I must have sleep.
Yeah. Must
Yeah, I
have.
did wake up
I mean,
kinda late,
he's
though.
he's funny, and he's probably more in line with my thinking. But to be honest, that's why I don't go on a lot of panels,
But
because
Stanley, you'll be the voice. You could be the
half
thread
these
that
half these people, like this young lady, I don't know that she should even be speaking on this. She should talk about what she knows, and she does not know politics. She does not know, and shit, who really knows politics?
and I hate to
But
be a
she's,
misogynist, Stanley, but she a woman. She's
yeah,
not
well,
supposed to know.
okay, well, you and I would differ on that. She's supposed to know because she has a platform.
No, she's supposed to have a husband. I'm based, Stanley. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are. You should be sorry. So at least you know enough to be sorry. And to be honest, I want to hear a little bit more of this, but I'm starting to get bored with it because all I'm doing is fussing at this point.
Ah, Stanley. That's
does
how you
not
listen,
mean
Stanley. She
Yes.
a good, she alright. She got good intentions. I like where she's coming from with it. You know what I'm saying? At least she's coming from an honest position.
Okay, well, see, this is where people go wrong. Okay, honest doesn't count for much when the rubber meets the road. Okay, your tires can be on your tires, to make a very bad analogy, can have good intentions, but if they go flat, they're not going to get you where you're going.
But at the same
So
time, is she saying anything wrong though, Stanley?
yes, she has literally probably nothing she said. I'm sure there are tidbits in there. The connections are wrong. Woke liberal and woke are not necessarily synonymous. Conservatives want to deprive people of rights. She's got a lot of stuff. Just like this is like pop, like whatever. I don't even know what to call this. It's a muddle.
But is she
It's
pretty
really,
though? Is
it's
she pretty though,
really,
Stanley? Is she
it's
pretty?
it's
Regardless of
really.
what she's saying, is she pretty though? Is she pretty though?
What the fuck does that have to do with my point?
Fuck your point, Stanley. Is she pretty?
You know what? What does it
Why
matter
would
if
you
she's
analyze
pretty?
the woman's
What does
thought?
it matter if she's pretty if she's on here talking about something she doesn't know very well?
Where's she trying, Stanley? Why you don't date?
You know what? Well, you know what? She's not 5 years old.
She grown, Stanley. She
That's
pretty.
right.
I
And
ain't gonna lie,
that's
Stanley.
half. That's
I really
half
don't
her.
care about what she say as long as
Yeah,
she keep
well,
her mouth
I
moving.
do. Okay, I am not you.
I'm just saying, Stanley. That's how I be. I ain't gonna lie. I can have a pretty woman like that though. I can just let them.
Yeah,
Let them
well,
talk.
you
Let
know
them
what?
talk, Stanley.
You only expect one thing from a woman, and that's subservience. I'm a little bit more. I expect a little more.
No, Stanley.
You
I
like
don't
that
expect
soft
one
bit.
thing
Your
from a woman.
favorite saying is bigotry of low expectations. That's pretty much what you're doing with this young lady. As long as she's
What do you
pretty,
mean? She pretty.
as long as
She a
as long
woman,
as she's
Stanley.
pretty, as long as she's pretty, that's all you need. I need a little
Exactly.
more.
As long as you stay beautiful. Yes, stay beautiful.
Yep.
That certain people are inherently stupider, that means that whatever was going on, it could have been the culture that they were in, it could have been the climate that they were in. I think it should be studied. Nobody wants to study that because it seems racist, but I would like to know. I think it's very interesting. Anyway, so let's just say that, right? White people found the AllSpark first. What should have happened was that this is white people. They found the AllSpark, right? Whoa, they found it. And what should have happened is they should have freely distributed it to their fellow man. They should have given it to the blacks,
Well,
to
you
the
know what?
Asians, to the
Probably what
America
she
back
should
then, was
do.
it? To all the native countries.
Probably what she should do is twerk while she's doing this.
Oh, come on, Stanley.
Because I can't.
Stanley. Listen to her mind, though. Thinking about how she's thinking. Hey, man, I can come in with a Transformers conversation because I grew up with the Transformers. You know what I'm saying? Never mind. She said the AllSpark, Stanley. That was a trigger. That was a trigger, Stanley. Everybody hit her like and share. Ooh, she said the AllSpark. Nah, let me stop playing. My bad.
To whoever, the Australians and all that stuff. But that's not what happened, is it? White people
Australians
found
and
the
all that
AllSpark
stuff.
and they kept it to themselves for whatever reasons. I think when people say reasons for why white people didn't, they would say those other cultures were savages. We can also see the way that white people describe people of other cultures. At that time, you can look in their journals. It's not good. It's pretty bad. I'm not saying that white people are wrong or evil for doing that. I'm just saying that's what happened. I personally think it's inherent in human nature to be tribal and to hate outsiders. So I could see them just being like, you want me to share the AllSpark with them? I don't think so. Anyway, so what then happened is a race began when white.
This is literally.
Share your AllSpark with me, baby. Ooh, share that AllSpark. Nah, let me stop. My bad. My bad.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Stan, you said you wouldn't want to share her AllSpark.
You know what? I wouldn't even want my son to share her AllSpark because that shit might spread to my grandkids.
Oh, God. See? Damn it. That's not right.
Well, not right for me. I agree. So I was actually going to show some of some of Roz's show.
That was an awesome show, man. Stop it.
No,
Stop
you know
it
what?
there.
It was
I
embarrassing for
did
all.
good tonight. You capping
It
for
was
the chat.
all. It was embarrassing for all black men.
No, it's not.
Yeah, well, Deacon Dave agrees. He doesn't care what he's talking about. So I guess I'm outvoted here.
Man, look how pretty she is, Stanley. Man, look, all we doing is making babies. So I can go to church.
You know what,
Boy,
though?
I come to church
My
with
question.
13 kids
My
with a
question.
woman that pretty.
Okay, look.
I promise you, I ain't doing nothing but making babies
Okay,
all week
all
long.
I have to say is all you're doing is just getting all hot and bothered about something you'll never have.
Well, you don't know that, Stanley. I can get something
Oh,
like it.
I suspect.
See, Stanley, you failed to.
Well, I'm going to drop the link to Roz's show, and you all can watch it on your own time. I suspect that Deacon Dave will. Why am I getting a feedback here? Not exactly sure. Oh, I know. Yeah, I know what it is. I just think that let's see, what do we have? All spark is a trigger word. What is all spark actually a thing? I have no idea what all spark is. But maybe you can help me out there, Dave. But what I'll do is drop this link to Roz's show, and you all can watch it on your own. Needless to say, it was just chock full of stuff I didn't agree with. The guys talking really just it was just a big ball of like a big ball of mangled manosphere bullshit. And the sad thing is both of these guys were like over 30, but they didn't sound like they were over 30. So let's see. And I do encourage you to actually watch Roz's show. This was earlier tonight. It is definitely food for thought. And I don't know, I may, it was so disturbing, actually. I might actually go back to it. But, I think what I'm going to do, at least for now, is move on into the news. And by the way, this isn't going to be that long a show because I'm going to be leaving in a couple hours, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do a show overnight. I may or may not. I should be back. Let's see. Today's Wednesday. If I don't do a show overnight, I'll do one Friday morning. But I figure I better stop this bullshit here and move on to the news items I want to cover, and if there's time I'll come back to it. So Freezy was having Bible study. Yeah, I heard a little bit of it, Deacon Dave. But I mean, I've actually gone to I've actually heard a couple Mo Love shows that were more or less Bible studies. And it's very nice. It's very comforting to hear. But I'm a sinner in the chat. I tend not to express my opinion too much. So let's do some news here. 700 military personnel mobilized to support ICE in 3 states. And it wasn't Trump who mobilized them, at least not in Texas. says here, last week, the Department of Defense approved the deployment of as many as 700 military personnel to assist ICE operations in Florida, Louisiana, and Texas. Those governors made the first moves. They're all three Republican states. This deployment responds to rising immigrant arrests and detention space storages, reflecting the Trump's administration, their continued immigration enforcement efforts. Let me tell you what it actually reflects. It reflects an administration that was not prepared to do what it said it was going to do. All this stuff should have been, at the ready. So, you're not having to go to court and all this stuff. It's an administration that was unprepared. Military personnel will assist with support functions such as logistics, administration, and clerical work at ICE detention centers without participating in enforcement operations. That will probably come at some point. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell explained that this assistance offers essential backing to ICE, allowing law enforcement officers to concentrate more fully on their core duties and operations. The deployment aims to bolster ICE's processing capacity and interagency collaboration while maintaining the Department of Defense's role in national sovereignty and border control. Yeah, okay. Didn't know they actually had that much of a role. But that's a new one. You learn something new every day, I guess. So we'll move on to this political assassination in Minnesota. This is actually a commentary, like an overall commentary. Let me move this out of the way, which I'm going to have the auto reader deal with. It's called How Minnesota Police Fueled Insane Conspiracy Theory About Assassin.
How Minnesota Police Fueled Insane Conspiracy Theory About Assassin. Elon Musk, U.S. Senator link Vance Bolter to Governor Tim Walz. By Ken Klippenstein. Within moments of the killing of one Minnesota lawmaker and her husband, and the attempted assassination of two others by the same gunman on Saturday, Conservative World decided that the alleged gunman was a member of the left. The main reason was a single photo, released without explanation by the Minnesota police, showing the interior of Vance Bolter's car with a bunch of printed pages containing one phrase in big bold letters: N.O. Kings. Countless people took the photo to mean that Vance Bolter was somehow connected to the anti-Trump protests. Then came the news that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz reappointed Bolter to an obscure state advisory board, leading to deranged conspiracy theories that Walz was somehow behind the killings. Many in the pro-Trump crowd jumped on the narrative, including, most prominently, Senator Mike Lee of Utah. "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way," Lee tweeted. An hour later, he posted a photo of Bolter along with the text, "Nightmare on Waltz Street." The post racked up 13 million views. The far left is murderously violent, Elon Musk posted on X, garnering an eye-watering 52 million views. The alleged shooter is a Trump supporter, conservative Christian, anti-abortion activist, and Walz hater, according to all accounts. Bolter would be offended if people thought he was a Democrat, a childhood friend and roommate of his has said. While Lee is rightly facing plenty of criticism for his quackery, which he doubled down on today, none of this would have happened were it not for the carelessness of the Minnesota State Patrol. When I inquired why they were so quick to release the photo, Drew Evans, superintendent of Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, told me in an email. And quote, "We had an absolute obligation to release that image as part of our effort to protect Minnesotans. We knew that thousands of people were planning to attend rallies across Minnesota, and we needed to provide them with information so that they could make informed decisions about their own safety. Outside of what was publicly shared, we were not in a position to provide context about the image to refute anyone's statements about it, because we didn't have context to provide." We had a known armed killer who had already committed at least 4 acts or targeted political violence on the loose and no information to verify whether he supported rally goers or intended to target them as well. End quote. The explanation makes some sense, except when you think about the photo itself. The police didn't just warn potential protesters, they also released the image, believing it would have greater impact. It sure did. By not providing any context to explain what the words meant, the photo was released without a caption even. People assumed it must be a statement of support for the protests. A lot of people assumed that. The matter came up during a briefing for state legislators on Sunday, in which Minnesota law enforcement updated them on the manhunt. Evans, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension official, was asked if they could issue a statement clarifying that there wasn't any evidence that the alleged shooter was in league with Walz or the state Democrats. A person present in the meeting told me. Members of the legislature expressed frustration with the harassment and threats they were receiving as a result of the confusion, I'm told, but Evans would not agree to issue a clarification. Evans, for his part, told me the issue wasn't raised at the meeting. When I asked Evans whether a clarification would be forthcoming, the answer was no. If law enforcement lacked any context for the picture, maybe they shouldn't have rushed to release it. Surely there are other ways to communicate public safety information. And if a threat justified them publicly sharing the photo, why doesn't the flood of threats lawmakers have gotten since justify a clarification? I don't doubt that law enforcement's intentions here were to help keep people safe, as Evans said. But that's the problem with the national security state. It overreacts and behaves unthinkingly, reflexively. And instead of being held accountable like any other profession, people respond just as reflexively, saluting them, thanking them for their service, and so on. Google the story and you'll see endless references to how heroically law enforcement carried out the largest manhunt in Minnesota's history, a phrase appearing ad nauseum. State law enforcement officials couldn't stop patting themselves on the back at a press conference about the arrest this morning. As I write this, countless people online, still confused about what happened, are asking that Bolter's writings be released to shed light on his politics. Minnesota police have been quick to rule that out, saying that his notebook, containing the names of others targeted for assassination, isn't a manifesto per se, and though it contains some of his writings and views, it wouldn't be released. Help us continue watching The Watchmen by becoming a paid subscriber. Edited by William M. Arkin.
You know, I've looked at the tweet that the State Patrol put out. I don't actually see anything wrong. I mean, the message says, given the targeted shootings of state lawmakers overnight, we are asking the public not to attend today's planned demonstrations across Minnesota out of an abundance of caution. I don't get why Ken Klippenstein is I actually don't get why I don't see his problem with it. Don't attend out of an abundance of caution seems fairly straightforward to me. I think Mike Lee just jumped to some wild conclusions. You would think a U.S. senator would actually have time to think before he tweets. At least the cops have some. At least the cops have a reason, for acting quickly, and maybe they didn't have time to give it forethought. So I have questions for Mr. Klippenstein. So live updates. Let's see here. This is live updates. Israel conducts new strikes on Tehran, and Trump calls for Iran's unconditional surrender. Wow. We're not at war with Iran. Why would we call for their surrender? Very interesting. And here's a photo here of, let's see, where is this? This is air defense systems at work in Tehran on Wednesday. So I guess they're trying to shoot down missiles or something. So that is continuing. The last I heard is, Trump still has like getting U.S. troops somehow to assist in the defense of Israel, or maybe even the actual attack on Iran. And also, the last thing I heard is that Iran basically says if the U.S. Does participate in any sort of attack, they will basically end, any chances of negotiating over their nuclear capabilities. So we go. That's going to be ongoing. Let's see what is next. I don't know. I don't think I talked about this yesterday, but one of the candidates for New York mayor was involved in an altercation with ICE yesterday. And we'll listen to this article, and then there's a short video clip of the actual tussle.
Brad Lander is arrested by ICE agents at Immigration Courthouse. This article is by Luis Ferre Sadorni and read by an automated voice. Brad Lander, the New York City comptroller who was running for mayor, was arrested on Tuesday by federal agents at an immigration courthouse in Lower Manhattan as he tried to escort a migrant whom agents were seeking to arrest. Mr. Lander, a Democrat, was observing proceedings at the city's main immigration courthouse at 26 Federal Plaza, where an increasing number of migrants who appear for court have been arrested in recent weeks by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. A spokeswoman for the Department of Homeland Security later said that Mr. Lander had assaulted and impeded a law enforcement officer, though as of Tuesday afternoon, Mr. Lander had not been formally charged. Videos taken by reporters at the courthouse show Mr. Lander standing by a migrant man in a hallway on the 12th floor when several men in plainclothes who appear to be law enforcement officers, some wearing masks, push past a crowd in the hallway to arrest the migrant. Mr. Lander repeatedly asks the agents whether they have a judicial warrant, refusing to let go of the migrant as the agents seek to shepherd the man toward the elevators, according to one of the videos, which was posted on social media by a reporter from The City, a digital news outlet. "I will let go when you show me the judicial warrant," Mr. Lander says, his right hand on the man's body. Agents can be seen trying to pry Mr. Lander away. They ultimately separate him from the man, push him against a wall by the elevators, and place handcuffs on him. "You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens," Mr. Lander says repeatedly, according to the video. "I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway. I asked to see the judicial warrant." Agents do not need judicial warrants to make arrests in immigration courts because they are public spaces, immigration lawyers said. The agents walked Mr. Lander into an elevator in the building, accompanied by a member of his security detail. Dora Pekek, a spokeswoman for Mr. Lander, said that he, quote, was taken by masked agents and detained by ICE. Mr. Lander was held at 26 Federal Plaza for several hours before being released on Tuesday afternoon, as Governor Kathy Hochul and other Democrats showed up at the federal offices demanding his release. At a news conference, Mr. Lander rejected claims that his arrest had been a premeditated publicity stunt and denied that he had assaulted anyone, saying, "Seriously? I did not come today expecting to be arrested," Mr. Lander said. "But I really think I failed today because my goal was really to get Edgardo out of the building," he added, referring to the migrant ICE had detained. In a statement, Tricia McLaughlin, a spokeswoman for the Homeland Security Department, the parent agency of ICE, said that Mr. Lander, quote, was arrested for assaulting law enforcement and impeding a federal officer. "Our heroic ICE law enforcement officers face a 413% increase in assaults against them," she added. "It is wrong that politicians seeking higher office undermine law enforcement safety to get a viral moment. No one is above the law, and if you lay a hand on a law enforcement officer, you will face consequences." A spokesman for the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office said in a statement that the office was investigating Mr. Lander's actions, but said nothing about criminal charges. The spokesman, Nicholas Biasi, noted that federal law prohibited assaults on law enforcement and other public officials and obstruction of official proceedings. Mr. Lander's arrest was the latest in a series of arrests of Democratic elected officials by federal agents, as Democrats scramble to push back against President Trump's deportation campaign. It came 5 days after Senator Alex Padilla, Democrat of California, was shoved out of a room and handcuffed by federal officers after he had tried to question Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, during a news conference. Last month, federal agents arrested Ras J. Baraka, the mayor of Newark, and later charged Representative LaMonica McIver, both Democrats, in connection with a volatile clash outside an immigration detention center in the city. And in April, FBI agents arrested a Milwaukee judge on charges that she had shielded an undocumented immigrant from federal agents. Mr. Lander's arrest came a week before the Democratic primary for mayor. The comptroller is running in a crowded field and has been racing to make inroads against former Governor Andrew M. Cuomo, the frontrunner who has led nearly all polls. Zohran Mamdani, a state assemblyman who is polling in second place, and Mr. Lander have cross-endorsed each other. Both Mr. Cuomo and Mr. Mamdani, as well as other New York Democrats, condemned the arrest, while the state Republican Party cast it as performative nonsense. In a post on X, Mr. Cuomo called the arrest the latest example of the extreme thuggery of Trump's ICE, out of control. Mr. Mamdani was one of a handful of Democratic lawmakers to show up at 26 Federal Plaza after the altercation, as hundreds of people gathered near the building to protest Mr. Lander's arrest. In this exact moment, New Yorkers are looking to leaders to meet this moment, to showcase the courage that is necessary, Mr. Mamdani said outside the building. What Brad did was engage in that very moment of courage. He showed us what leadership can look like. Ms. Hochul, a Democrat, was more blunt. "It's bullshit," she told reporters earlier in the day. She added at a news conference after Mr. Lander's release that it was her understanding that the charges had been dropped. Mayor Eric Adams, who Mr. Lander is running to replace, did not answer questions about the incident as reporters shouted questions about it on his way out from his weekly news briefing. But the mayor's former chief of staff, Frank Curo, posted a photo of Mr. Lander's arrest and suggested that it was political stunt, saying, "Academy Award goes to, today should not be about Brad Lander." Kayla Mamalak-Altus, a spokeswoman for the mayor, later said in a statement, adding that it was about making sure undocumented people in New York City did not hide in the shadows. Mr. Lander, who is part of his party's left flank, has spent a good portion of his campaign arguing that he is the candidate best positioned to stand up to Mr. Trump's attempts to cut funding and deport immigrants from New York City. He has spoken repeatedly about protecting the city's sanctuary laws, which limit cooperation between city agencies and the federal government on immigration enforcement. And he has called for an increase in city funding to provide legal representation to immigrants facing deportation who do not have lawyers. Tuesday was the third time that Mr. Lander had appeared at the city's immigration courts, where ICE agents, typically wearing masks, have become a regular presence as the agency ramps up arrests of migrants showing up for routine court hearings. Prosecutors with the Department of Homeland Security have surprised a number of migrants by dismissing their cases when they appear in court, a legal tactic that opens the door for ICE agents to arrest them in the hallways once they leave and place them in expedited deportation proceedings without hearings. Several Democratic politicians, including members of Congress, have shown up at immigration courthouses in recent weeks to protest the Trump administration's new tactics. During his previous appearances, Mr. Lander sat quietly during hearings and then escorted a few families that seemed at risk of arrest out of the courthouse and to a nearby subway station. His arrest on Tuesday marked his first altercation with federal agents patrolling the courthouse hallways, lobbies, and elevators. His campaign appeared to move quickly to publicize his arrest, with his wife, Meg Barnett, posting a video of the episode from Mr. Lander's official campaign account on social media. Ms. Barnett, who was at the courthouse during the arrest, said at a news conference that on Tuesday the couple had witnessed how judges dismissed cases against migrants, most without lawyers, who did not know that the dismissal of their cases would probably lead to their arrest. She called the practice absolutely unacceptable. "I feel really rattled and scared, and my husband is a candidate for mayor, is an elected citywide official, is a U.S. citizen, has a US passport, and I know in all likelihood he's going to be okay, she said. All the other folks in that building are risking having their families torn apart with inadequate explanation. It's an abomination. Mr. Lander underscored that sentiment upon his release, saying that unlike the migrant he had met, Edgardo, he had a lawyer who would defend his rights were he to be charged. Edgardo is in ICE detention, and he is not going to sleep in his bed tonight, Mr. Lander said. Jonah E. Bromwich, Emma G. Fitzsimmons, Joseph Goldstein, Jeffrey C. Mays, Benjamin Oreskes, and Nate Schwaber contributed reporting.
Well, let's have a look at this video.
Judicial warrant. Do you have a judicial warrant? Do you have a judicial warrant? Can I see the judicial warrant? Can I see the warrant? I will let go when you show me the judicial warrant. Where is it? Where is the warrant? I had it in my hand here. You obstruct it. You obstruct it. I was like, let go. See the warrant. No. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Step back. You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. You don't have to. I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway. I asked to see the judicial warrant. By asking for a judicial warrant.
Yeah, well, you know what? I guess this is how you get your publicity if you're if you're running third or fourth in the mayoral race. Not sure that I'd have done it, but you know what? Whatever. Let's see, what else have we got here? I guess what we'll do is just go ahead and just make a quick run through the headlines. Hold on one second, be right back. Well, no, don't worry about it. Let's see. Trump suggests U.S. is open to action against Iran. That could wind up being fairly interesting. I am curious to know how he balances this against the promise not to get into any major new conflicts. We'll see how that turns out. I think that we should probably not get that involved. I actually was under the impression he was just gonna kind of let the two sides duke it out. So maybe this is some sort of saber rattling, just to reach a conclusion. With Trump, you never really know. He's really good at confusing. He's really good at hiding his confusion behind, his true believers who think he's playing 4D chess. I don't think he is. I think that he's just trying to figure out whether he can get away with whatever it is he thinks he's going to get away with. I think if you drop a 30,000-pound bomb to blow up their nuclear capabilities, you break it, you buy it. And I just think it would be a mistake to get any more involved than we are in the Middle East. So let's see what else is here. Trump's conflicting messages on workplace raids leave businesses reeling. I guess they're talking about the farmers and the hotel businesses, which he's flip-flopped on. Obama back in public eye, offers careful warning of a Democratic slide. He's been part of the slide. So oh wow, Ann Burrell died. Sorry to hear that. I wonder what happened to her. I'll have to look that up. Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. Not that I'm that big a hockey fan, but I know who the Panthers are. So let's see what the Washington Post has. Same thing about Trump debates bombing Iran in pivotal moment for presidency. Industry leaders plead with White House on relief from raids after setback. Guess they're talking farming and hotels. I think that's a slippery slope if you make exceptions. Democrats want to fight Trump, but they can't stop fighting each other. That's normal politics. In my opinion, Democrats tend to be way more factionalized than Republicans. Let's see. New state laws target job protections for college professors. Yeah, that's going to be the upshot of it. Tenure is not going to be as secure as it used to be. I think that might be the only win that Republicans or conservatives get on this academic front. Let's see. GOP budget bill faces nearly 2-to-1 opposition, with many unaware. So this bill, the big beautiful bill, is not that popular. It's not many people don't think it's beautiful. Might be big though. Bowser pushes for youth curfew as council advances public safety bills. This is interesting. This something that John Galt has talked about. Let's see what that's all about.
You're listening to DC Mayor pushes youth curfew as council advances public safety bills. A news story written by Jenny Gathright and Megan Flynn and read by an AI-generated voice. Mayor Muriel E. Bowser, Democrat, is pushing the DC Council to pass stricter curfew laws for DC teens and young people, responding to concerns about large groups of unruly youths in popular nightlife areas. Bowser announced the proposed legislation Tuesday, while the council also debated a separate public safety bill introduced by Brooke Pinto, D. Ward 2, that would permanently expand pretrial detention, relax college credit requirements for police officers, and expand survivors' benefits for family members of first responders whose jobs make them sick. The legislative efforts come amid the city's second straight year with a double-digit drop in violent crime, according to DC police data. But a particularly violent May saw 20 gun-related homicides and sustained concern about juvenile crime and safety for children in the district. The proposed curfew legislation came after Bowser vowed to address community concerns about large gatherings of teens in areas such as Navy Yard in Southeast Washington and U Street in Northwest Washington. In several cases this year, police have made arrests after responding to large brawls involving teens and young people that broke out along the Southwest waterfront. This month, DC police shut down part of the U Street corridor after responding to reports of juvenile fights. One boy was found with a gunshot wound. Bowser is proposing setting a new summer juvenile curfew of 11 p.m. across the city and extending it to include 17-year-olds. Currently, DC's curfew for July and August applies to youth 16 and younger and runs from midnight to 6 a.m. Her proposal would also allow the mayor to issue an emergency youth curfew, and it would allow the police chief to create...
You know, in all honesty, though, it really ought to be 17 and below, unless accompanied by a parent. I think probably more cities should do it, just to see what happens. This is not a bad idea, in my opinion.
Special curfew zones in problem areas, where curfew would be set at 7 p.m. for 15 consecutive days.
Of course, if that happens, there won't be any kids for John Galt to, any YNs for John Galt to do street interviews with. So
Bowser urged a vote as soon as possible. Most of our young people are doing the right thing, but unfortunately, we continue to see troubling trends in how groups of young people are gathering in the community in ways that too often lead to violence and other unlawful behaviors. Bowser said in a statement Monday. Pinto's bill passed an initial vote Tuesday afternoon, with 8 members voting yes, 2 members voting no, Robert C. White Jr., D. at large, and Brienne K. Nadeau, D Ward 1, and 2 members voting present, Janice Lewis George, D Ward 4, and Kenyon R. McDuffie, I at large. Lawmakers were most divided on the pre-trial detention portions of the bill, which make permanent changes the council passed in both 2023 and 2024. Several council members argued that the city had no data to show that the changes had improved public safety. They pointed to a May report by DC's Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, which said the researchers could not identify a causal link between the pretrial detention changes and public safety because they lacked adequate data. The report also found no meaningful change in the percentage of people rearrested while on pretrial release before and after the laws were adjusted. Across the entire time period examined, fewer than 1% of people released before trial on violent or dangerous charges were rearrested for a violent or dangerous crime. We have no data to show us that the expansion of pretrial detention has, in fact, made us safer, White said. We do know that it has impacted justice, and when people are incarcerated as they await trial, innocent until proven guilty, they lose their job, they lose their housing. Supporters of the changes, which expand the circumstances in which judges are asked to presume a person should be jailed ahead of their trial, argued they were common sense improvements that DC's top law enforcement officials supported. After feedback from the Public Defender Service and others, Pinto said she paired the expansion in the bill the council considered Tuesday, removing robberies that do not lead to injury and second-degree burglary from the list of crimes for which judges are expected to detain someone ahead of their trial. Keeping the other changes, which are set to expire in July without council action, was important, Pinto argued. The police think it's a very helpful tool, she told reporters Tuesday. Judges I've talked to think it is a helpful tool, and I follow a lot of the cases closely. But Frankie Seabrone of Harriet's Wildest Dreams, a group of local activists who routinely watch D.C. Superior Court proceedings, said Pinto's bill ignores the known harms of pretrial detention. She pointed to the recent case of Taya Johnson, a woman who she said lost her job and home after being detained before trial at the jail for 5 months.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop that here because this is getting a little long. I actually think that, in the summertime in places like DC and some of these large metro areas, I don't know how easy it would be to do in a place like DC. I'm sorry, in a place like New York City. But I honestly don't see a problem. If you're 17 or below, if you're not with a parent, you don't need to be there. I don't see a problem with that. I hope more cities do it. There are just places kids don't need to be. The adults are having a good time. Kids need to be, somewhere else. So we'll move on from that. And just a reminder, everybody, please make sure you hit the like button. Please make sure you subscribe to the John Gall Urban Landlord channel. Share it out. This is usually, a channel with a lot of different opinions from different sides of the Black culture divide. This is going to be a short show because I'm going to be on the road in a couple hours. I may do a show overnight. I may not. It just depends on how I feel and all that stuff. I will definitely do a show Friday, I think. If I don't do one tomorrow, but I may do one on Friday anyway, because there are some videos and stuff that I'm not going to get to today. I've toyed around with starting the show earlier, but that didn't pan out. Raza's show just fascinated me, and it was a piece of work. And I dropped the link for that show. I encourage everyone to listen to it. There's some things that I just like, where do these people get this stuff from? Going down to Savannah, it's my father's birthday. So my sister and I are going to drive down there, and we'll stay overnight. But should be back sometime Thursday. So let's go to Professor Black Truth. He is always good for making me laugh. And I don't know. He's a very interesting person. He One of the reasons I like him is he's not afraid to criticize black people, or white people for that matter. I think in some ways he's kind of like me. He just doesn't like stupidity. So let's hear what he has to say. This is forget her name. Her last she's a Congresswoman McIver from, I think she's from New Jersey. She got in trouble a few weeks ago interfering with ICE agents at an ICE detention center. It was the one where the Newark mayor actually was put in jail for trespassing, but they let him go and drop charges. But the U.S. attorney, who happens to be Trump's former personal lawyer, I think her name's is it Aileen Haba, something like that, Alina Haba. She's acting New Jersey attorney, U.S. attorney, and she is basically going to attempt to throw the book at Congresswoman McIver. I think it's more a political statement, as much as anything else. I get the impression that this isn't going to go very far, but we shall see. We've got one Democratic judge, who's in trouble for ICE interference. Now we've got a sitting Congresswoman. Let's see how far they're willing to go.
Soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth. People could benefit a lot if they learn to mind their own business, not just on the personal level, but also if you're, say, an elected representative, you should be minding your own business, or at the very least, that of your own constituents. I told you about how Newark's mayor, Ras Baraka, pulled his attention-whoring stunt at an ICE facility in New Jersey. There were also a few other do-nothing bootlick politicians in tow, one of which being Representative LaMonica McIver. And because these clowns were performing for the cameras, she decided to be all extra with it. And at the time, she probably thought that she got herself a few good headlines for herself, a couple of interesting images. She can certainly use it for campaign fundraising, which is the whole point of this kind of stuff. But instead, it's also gotten her something she didn't count on, an indictment from Trump's DOJ. A federal grand jury indicted McIver on 3 counts of forcibly impeding and interfering with federal law enforcement officers. The indictment alleges that McIver interjected during Baraka's arrest, yelling, hell no," and that she attempted to thwart the arrest by putting her arms around Baraka. The indictment goes on to say that McIver slammed her forearm into an officer and reached out and tried to restrain the agent by forcibly grabbing him, and that she pushed past a second agent using each of her forearms to visibly strike him. Now, of course, obviously, this is Trump's DOJ, but like a lot of these prosecutors in general, they like to use all sorts of action verbs that are over the top. They exaggerate, if not outright lie. I sincerely doubt that this overweight bureaucrat turned into an MMA fighter on the spot, especially under those circumstances. So there's a lot of people out here who are trying to milk this incident for all it's worth. But since the indictment, McIver issued a statement saying, I was simply doing my job, and that Trump in the indictment was simply meant to scare me out of doing the work I was elected to do. Notice she didn't say a single word about the voters. She didn't say, I'm doing what the voters wanted me to, or I'm protecting my voters, or I'm sticking up for my voters. She's not protecting anybody. The people that she was out there showing out for the cameras are people who are not even citizens. The individuals in that ICE facility were not U.S. citizens. They were illegal aliens. That's the reason that they were in that facility in the first place. She wasn't there to represent her constituents. She wasn't there because she was elected to do that, because none of the people that she's trying to stick up for elected her. They didn't vote for her. And obviously her own constituents, the poor deluded fools who voted for her, those individuals are not represented in that ICE facility. They're not the ones being deported. So what the hell is she doing it for? This McIver woman is part of the Congressional Black Caucus. And I'm not even going to play the game of whether or not this woman happens to be a tether or not. As far as I'm concerned, if you're not standing up for our group, if you're not standing up for Black Americans, specifically those of us who came out of slavery in this country, then as far as I'm concerned, you might as well be one of the tethers. I lump you in with them regardless. Because when we're talking about issues like this, it's just like when I talk about being Black first. That goes beyond just a specific lineage. If you're a Black person anywhere on this planet, you're supposed to be standing for an oppositional ideology to white supremacy, an oppositional ideology to anti-Black racism, and that starts with all of the ignoring of our interest in issues that goes on constantly, like what she's doing. The Congressional Black Caucus, their word means absolutely nothing. They don't have any stroke. I don't see any black people, especially young black people, giving a rip about Miss McIver's self-imposed hardships. The black grassroots doesn't care about her little problems. She can be sent to prison for life for all we care. It doesn't matter because she's not standing up for us. But you want to know who else doesn't care about her problems? The Congressional Hispanic Caucus, La Raza, or any of these other Hispanic ethnic pride organizations. They're not riding for her either. They're not even talking about her. They're not backing her. They don't seem to even notice her problem, which was done on their behalf. This is the problem with all of that racial coalition stuff that people were talking about. That was a mirage that never actually existed, but it didn't stop people from spending decades chasing it anyway. Everyone else has been wrongly hopping on our history and our struggle because they recognize there's no substitute for the moral legitimacy that we represent. Ours is an honest struggle rooted in morality and in reality. Everybody else, it's all about their own crass, self-serving agenda. We're not about to let shills, sellouts, and liars like the Congressional Black Caucus try to tell everybody that we support what is nothing more than opportunism. Because that's what's really going on here. It's what's always been going on. Everybody trying to find a way to hop on the coattails of our suffering and try to attach themselves to our own virtuous struggle so that they could try to whitewash what it is that they're doing for themselves and themselves alone. You've heard of money laundering? Well, what so many other groups want is for us to support their moral laundering. What they want is a morality car wash, and they expect us to scrub-a-dub-dub until their reputation is clean. They want for us to lend the good offices of our own impeccable moral struggle to what is nothing more than people trying to see what they can get for nothing. Okay, so what are the chances that McIver is going to wind up having to do some time? Well, if past experience is any indication, not much. Because you see, Trump's DOJ already brought charges against Ras Baraka himself for trespassing, but of course they dropped those just in time for him to lose his damned-to-fail bid to become governor. In my earlier video about this, you'll recall I explained how Ras Baraka was doing all of this in order to raise his own political profile because he was running for governor. Well, he predictably lost his bid to be the Democratic nominee, so if he was expecting this stunt to get him a groundswell of Latino support, that clearly didn't materialize. So all of that was for nothing. But the Trump administration probably got themselves a couple of quickie headlines saying, we're indicting this Baraka guy, and then immediately dropped the case. So as far as they're concerned, their own brain-dead supporters on the MAGA right, they're not going to remember the part about the charges being dropped. They'll feel as if, well, at least he's taken the fight to those Democrats somehow, and that'll be enough to delight them for a while. And I fully expect that this case against McIver will also go the same way. Republicans have made performative extremism and message legislation into their entire MO. I would really be surprised if they actually decided to go all the way with this one. But yet again, this incident is another reminder of why we do not and should not trust any of these black politicians that these white political parties put in front of us. These sellouts, they care more about people who aren't even citizens, people who broke into the country illegally or who broke the law by remaining after their visas expired, than they do foundational black Americans who built this country and who are supposed to be their actual constituency. The second Trump term has Democrats going back to the old playbook. Same way Barack Obama got white media attention by pretending to argue with dubious cabinet members every time they came before the Senate. And then Kamala Harris pathetically tried to do the same thing when she thought she was going to mount her own presidential run. During Trump's first term, everyone couldn't wait to mug for the cameras and pretend like they were really standing up to the orange man. Well, this time around, they're doing the same thing, only more of it. Baraka thought that he would do like Barack Obama and Kamala Harris before him, but he found out that playbook just doesn't work anymore. Hell, it didn't even work for Kamala Harris, because if Biden hadn't personally cherry-picked her out of the political dumpster to be his VP, she would have flamed out completely after her disastrous presidential run. And whenever these clowns go out of their way to do these kind of stunts, that's not some sort of victimless crime. We always got these idiots who can't wait to be jumping out a window, climbing up on buildings, making general fools of themselves for everyone except us. That sends a political message to everyone that you don't have to do anything for black people. You go crazy, you just lose your mind for people who aren't even citizens before you even lift a finger or say a single peep of discontent on black people's behalf. None of these sorry Negroes who are out there in front of the cameras have said a word about reparations. All the black people in America who are routinely killed by these anti-black racists, black people are the main victims of hate crimes in America, and yet you don't see Ras Baraka or McIver or anyone else doing any sort of publicity stunts for an anti-black hate crime law. They're not protesting anything on our behalf. They're not coming out and making a scene. Now, they're going to have their shills, trolls, and toadies, especially as the election cycle powers into next year. They're going to be the ones on the internet telling us that we have to vote for these guys. Vote blue no matter who. Why? Because if you don't, well, the Republicans will be even worse. I have no idea what that's supposed to even mean. Are the Republicans going to grandstand on irrelevant issues, push policies that harm us, prioritize everybody over us, and totally ignore black people in our interest? Is that what we're supposed to be scared the Republicans are going to do? Because that's exactly what these Democrats are doing right now. At least Republicans don't pretend to be for us. Better an honest enemy than a false friend. So, am I basically neutral when it comes to the issue of this MacIver woman going to prison or not? Well, let me go ahead and put it this way. And I know that this might strike some people as being bad form on my part, but to be bluntly honest, if these sellouts aren't going to stick up for us, and they're not, rather than try to be neutral about it, truth be told, I would probably start saying, lock them up. When you act as part of the effort to marginalize and completely and thoroughly ignore black people, there need to be consequences for that. Not for protesting Trump's ICE roundup, though I don't really have a problem with it, but for ignoring the black vote and prioritizing people who aren't even citizens. That's not doing what voters told you to do. That's sticking up for some Democrat super objective that's supposed to make the black vote completely and thoroughly irrelevant. And that being the case, these sellouts may think they're going to play the hero, but all they're really going to do is wind up playing the fool. Good day.
I wish I had a voice like his. Let's see. So we will play Mr. Daniels here, and this might be the last video of the morning. This is getting I don't want to be running too late. So this is Anton Daniels on the kind of the same topic, illegal immigrants. I actually think that, Professor Black Truth says a lot of truths. My only point here is I actually think that Black First thing kind of plays into White Shade's hands. Marcus Garvey was a big hit with the Klan back in his day. They are all for Black First. So, to me, that sort of logic historically has been kind of dodgy when you take it all the way through to, a logical conclusion. Hey, good morning, SKC. So let's play Anton here and this very pretty Latina. Let's see what she has to say.
About the ICE raids that are happening right now. Keep scrolling. This video isn't for you. This video is for the people who are celebrating the ICE raids because we need to talk. Hi, I'm Delara. I'm undocumented. I have lived in the US since I was 5 years old, and I have a law degree from one of the best schools in the United States. And I want to start by giving you the benefit of the doubt. You want to feel safe. Maybe you were told a story about how undocumented immigrants are dangerous. Maybe you've...
Does she say that she's undocumented? I'm sorry. Let me just rewind this really quickly because I want to make sure that we're all in the same boat and that we all hearing the same thing.
Now, well, you know what? I'm just going to let this play.
If you are furious about the ICE raids that are happening right now, keep scrolling. This video isn't for you. This video is for the people who are celebrating the ICE raids because we need to talk. Hi, I'm Delara. I'm undocumented. I have lived in the US since I was...
She did say that she was undocumented. Okay, let's continue.
5 years old, and I have a law degree from one of the best schools in the United States. And I want to start by giving you the benefit of the doubt. You want to feel safe. Maybe you were told a story about how undocumented immigrants are dangerous. Maybe you've heard a story about how they are stealing your resources. Maybe you heard a story about how ICE is the hero. But there's a couple of things I just want you to make sure that you know in case you didn't. The first thing that is really important for you to understand is that native-born Americans commit crimes at a higher rate than immigrants. This is not an opinion, it's not a take, it's just data. Even though it's well documented, you don't even have to be that smart to understand. When you commit a crime, you have way less to lose than I do. Because if you commit a crime, maybe you get fined, maybe you spend some time in jail. If an undocumented person commits a crime, they face deportation and being ripped away from their family.
Oh, okay. So let's hold off for a second before we get to the rest of this video. I can do what I want to do inside of my house. And I want y'all to be absolutely clear about this, because I keep hearing about this. They commit crimes. I haven't deep dove into the data, but I would assume that it's not based off of per capita. I would also assume that there's more people living inside of the United States of America that are actually legally in the United States of
It
America
is actually per
or native
capita.
to the United States of America. So that can be skewed a little bit. But I'm not going to deep dive into that part. What I'm trying to understand is, why do y'all keep justifying you doing stuff over here? And you say, well, maybe you read this or maybe you read that. You know what I read about? You know what I was covering all last year? Lake and Riley. That Democrats refused to say their name. And the Lake and Riley Act that Trump made sure that he passed. I was reading about Lake and Riley. I was watching illegal migrants and undocumented people beat the hell out of police officers in New York City. I was watching them sleep inside of the police station in Chicago. I was looking at billions of dollars going into illegal migrants all across the United States of America, and everybody was acting like they didn't see it happening. And I also am aware that you can't do this in any other country inside of on the globe. You can't do it in any country, period. They don't tolerate this. And this is why you see people getting held accountable for what they do in other countries. So what I want y'all to do, honestly, before I read the rest of this video, is stop justifying you doing things that you're not supposed to do, such as coming over into this country illegally. And if you are one of the people that are undocumented, which means that she had a lot of time to get her life together and a lot of time ultimately because she didn't graduated from here and all of this, right? If you are one of the people that were brought over here as a child, and it doesn't mean that your parents are doing the right thing, and just because you've been doing it for a long time does not mean that it's the right thing to do or that you can justify it.
I'm going to stop it right here. I think that the way DACA is being handled right now is, a little bit dodgy. I'm not willing as a U.S. citizen, to punish somebody who came to this country at 5 years old. I think it's actually not a good thing, to send people back, these people who came over that young back to a country they don't know. So I will depart with Mr. Daniels here. I think and I think all these political commentators are afraid of nuance. Anton Daniels, though there are times when I agree, he's actually the least I can deal with Anton Daniels because he is straightforward, without a whole lot of bad faith arguments like some other black conservatives. I would honestly say, outside of SKC, I guess, and that's that's me sucking up to SKC, I guess. Outside of, he is, of all these YouTube anti-blacks, I don't think Anton Daniels actually anti-black, to be honest. He believes what he believes. I find myself kind of at least understanding where he comes from generally. I can't say that about some of these other folks. So I'm okay with him. We would probably not agree on much, but there are things we probably could agree on. I just don't agree with him on, I think the DACA thing is something that needs to be dealt with. And I think politicians are literally not doing their job dealing with DACA head on in a definitive and a final way. They're basically kicking the can down the road, kind of leaving it, to the court of public opinion. And I think that is just not a good thing.
If somebody breaks out of prison, if somebody breaks out of jail and they've been free, living an alternative life for their entire life, let's just say for the next 20 years, does that mean that they deserve to stay out of jail, or do they need to go back because it was a reason why we locked them up in the first place? Just because you're on your best behavior, because you out here not trying to get caught, does not mean that you are not doing things that you're supposed to do. And you came over here. If she's saying they commit crimes, for example, if you say that you commit crimes at a much lower rate, I would call you a liar to your face without even having to see the statistics. And the reason that is because every last one of y'all, your mama, your grandmama, anybody that came over here illegally committed the crime a minute that they walked over the border, and they didn't do it legally. Can't gaslight me. Oh, they commit crime. Oh, it's certain types of crimes or whatever. They think that just because they talk soft and because they got a lot of followers on TikTok or something like that, that means something to us. That don't mean shit. It's the same standards apply. And they be talking so proud, and I'm undocumented. You couldn't do that in another country. We so soft. We're so soft. That's because we've been coddled and we've been operating under these liberal policies for way too long.
The stakes are completely different. So we are careful in a way that you don't have to be. In fact, communities with a higher immigrant population experience lower crime rates.
It's because you ain't supposed to be here. But to go over to Mexico and see what the crime is over there and see how that play out.
Go figure. Okay, but you might also think that undocumented immigrants are draining the system. And again, you have been lied to, and I'll explain why in a second.
Don't talk about all of the businesses that they created and how much they put into the economy. I get it. I already know.
First, it's really important for you to know that undocumented immigrants pay billions of dollars in taxes every year, including Social Security, which we do not get access to. And on top of that, immigrants are 80% more likely to start a business.
Do you know why this is? Let me add the context. And honestly, this is the first time that I actually seen this video, and I'm reacting to it in real time, right? The reason why they're more likely to start a business is because that's the way that they create a job for themselves. Because most of them that actually work for somebody else, and in most instances, especially if they're the one that cross over into the border, they're working under the table. So we don't even know how much money that they have siphoning off. And I've known and I've seen it play out in front of my eyes in real time, how they finesse the system and actually drain more from it than they put into it. The reason why they create these businesses is because they're creating a job for themselves, because they're not actually over here legally. That's why. That's it. I'm gonna just let it play
Americans. Over $500 million U.S. startups were founded by immigrants or their kids. So no, we're not.
Were they legal or were?
Okay, once again, this is where Mr. Daniels and I will disagree. Throw some nuance in there, son. I think DACA, needs to be dealt with as a separate issue from straight illegal immigration. The other thing is, you know what? According to Juan, and I wish Juan were here to clarify, if you cross the border the first time, it's not actually considered like a criminal act. So you need to be, this is something that these folks never actually cover. Juan is the only person, and he kind of deals with, immigration as a career. Apparently it's some sort, the first time you do it, if you get caught, they send you back, won't let you apply or anything like that for a period of years, but it's not considered a criminal act. You don't go to jail for crossing the border. You may be detained, but eventually they're going to send you back with some citation or something. And it's when you cross again a second time that it becomes some sort of felony. So no, don't what the fuck me, Dave. Talk to an immigration lawyer, or the next time you run into Juan, talk to him about it. He went into detail. I think it was on Freezy's show. He was actually on the panel talking about this. And I wasn't aware of it either until Juan basically broke it down. It's not a criminal act. So deal with it.
Were they illegal?
So why are you being told these stories about how immigrants are a threat to your safety and your livelihood? That's a good question. And
No,
there's a good answer.
SKC.
And it's because fear is
See,
profitable.
here is the deal. Now this may be a technicality, but unless you're to be, you have to be convicted. Okay, what they will do is they will issue you a citation and send you back across the border. They will deport you, whatever they need to do to get you out of the country. In the United States, you have to be convicted of a crime. So again, the nuance counts. And, you know, a lot of times nuance goes against, these types of arguments.
When you're afraid, you're easier to control. Because if you are busy blaming immigrants for your problems, you're not looking up at the people who actually make housing unaffordable. You're not asking, why does an ER visit cost more than my car? Why are billionaires paying less in taxes than my local school teacher? Why did my landlord raise my rent $400 to fix nothing? Because scapegoating immigrants is the oldest trick in the political playbook, and unfortunately, it still works. But it doesn't have to work on you. If you've made it this far, maybe you're not as heartless as people think you are. Maybe you're just waking up. Maybe you were misinformed. And maybe now...
Samuel, it matters because the devil is in the details. Either it's a crime or it's not. And Deacon Dave, immigration lawyer Dave, deal with another guy who has legal training. I'm just going on what Juan says. And because Juan actually does this day in and day out, I'm going to go with what Juan says. Now, maybe I'm missing something, but he was questioned fairly closely on this, and he went into detail explaining it. And again, a crime is something you have to be convicted of. There's some due process involved. So I'll leave it at that. I'm not a lawyer.
You're starting to get it. By the way, solidarity would look really good on you.
Listen.
They have to leave if they're caught, Samuel. You're right.
In this country illegally. I am all out of compassion. I am all out of sympathy. I am all out of solidarity. I am. Everything that I vote for, I vote
Samuel,
I vote
to a person like me, no, it's not irrelevant. Slap on a wrist. It's either a crime or it's not. It's either something you get convicted of or not.
I've done that for the first
Maybe
half
it's
of my
irrelevant
life.
to you, not
As
irrelevant
a
to me.
Democrat and
Not
a
for
liberal
my
that
kind
was
of
raised to
argument.
be that way until I unlocked myself and jumped off a plantation.
The end result is the same.
Soft
Will
talking,
suit
hard
your
talking, it's
type
all
of
the same to
argument,
me.
not my type of argument.
Unappreciative.
I like
think that these people are
details when they're
manipulative,
appropriate.
and they spew these statistics with a false narrative that's behind it without the real context. And it's
Webster,
to
fuck
finesse
that
you into thinking
stupid
that something
question.
is supposed to be a certain type of way when it's supposed to be that other way. I'm gonna need everybody that's supposed to be here, and the people that's not supposed to be here to come on back legally. Or you can stay where you are from once you get deported. Let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments.
Well, I don't have time to make comments. I already have. Webster, I hate questions like that. Why would I adopt an immigrant family? Why would I adopt any family at all, legal or not? These sorts of questions work on, hood-servative neighborhood. Doesn't work on Stanley versus the world. You stay in the hood, I will deal with the world. So I'll drop the link one last time if anybody has any brief comment that they want to make in person. People itching in the chat always are entertaining. There's the link there. There's the link there. Hey, Drip, what's up? How you doing, man? Good to see you. I'm not as good a host as you, Drip. So some of these folks in the chat, are kind of used to used to my ways. And I'm sorry you're just getting here, because I actually have to cut the show short in like maybe 15 minutes or so. Anybody who wants to, hit the link. If not, I actually will wrap this up. I wish I had more time, but I don't. So everyone, make sure you hit the like button. Everyone, please make sure you subscribe to the John Galt Urban Landlord channel. Please also subscribe to the Stanley Cross channel. I haven't really done anything much this week on my own channel, but maybe next week. Yeah, I'm going down to Savannah. It's my father's birthday, so my sister and I are gonna make the drive. I'm outside the Atlanta area, so or outside of Atlanta, a little bit outside the metro area, but we're quickly being metroized. Let's see what else. Please make sure you support the channel, support the host when you can. It will be the weekend soon at some point, so I always enjoy the folks who want to get me drunk. Make sure you support Portia, the executive producer of this mess. She is overseas in visiting, doing her yearly trip to the motherland, and she has been listening in and out. So if you hear this, Portia, make sure you have fun. Bring me back a mask or something. And I kind of wish other than Egypt, I've never actually been to Africa. I've seen Morocco from the coast. That's about as close as I've gotten, other than Egypt. So I guess nobody's going to hit the link. I may do a show tomorrow. I may not. I don't have anything scheduled, but yeah, Africa. It's a joke, Samuel. I may do a show tomorrow. If I do, it'll be around 5 o'clock in the morning. Nothing scheduled for now. If I see my way clear, I will schedule something. So, kind of stay tuned for that. As always, I enjoyed it. Sorry for the abbreviation, but I wanted to do at least something because there were some news articles and stuff like that. I have no idea what John's plans are. I think I saw a show scheduled, so stay tuned to that. And Drip, our special guest in the chat, really appreciate you dropping by. It's an honor. And SKC, Dave, Samuel, Humble Presidents, Dirty, DiCapriono, all the usual suspects. I will definitely be here Friday morning. So wish me a bon voyage, and I will talk to you folks later. Y'all have a good day.
If you know somebody who drive a truck, I bet you he done had a relationship with a lot lizard. All these truck drivers love these lot lizards. I promise. Lot lizard, come on baby, get inside the truck. Lot lizard, put your head down and ass up. Lot lizard, call me $40 just to fuck. Lot lizard, twerk, 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 twerk. And she at the truck stop, walking with her butt out, and she got her stomach out, and she only come out when the sun out. She's a lot lizard. She's a lot lizard. He can be your boyfriend, cousin, husband, daddy, brother. It don't even matter if he driving trucks all around the country and he making money. I bet you he fuck a lot lizard. Come on baby, get inside the truck. Lot lizard, put your head down and ass up. Lot lizard, call me $40 just to fuck. Lot lizard, twerk, 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 twerk. Twerk, 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 twerk. Twerk, 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 twerk. Lot lizard, twerk, twerk.